Welcome to the Big Sky Unitarian Universalist service today. I'm Karen McLean. I'm serving as worship service liaison. All right, so today our service is being led by Valerie Hellermann. And as you are welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, you are welcome here. With little children or your partner or alone, we joyfully welcome you here. You are welcome here as believer or doubter, as joiner or loner. You are welcome here. Feeling a part of us or not, full of energy or not, seeking a vision or a rest. You are welcome to join us as you are. We acknowledge that we are in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish, Nez Perce, Blackfeet, and Anishinaabe people who shared the Helena Valley as hunting grounds. The indigenous story of the Helena Valley began long before the arrival of Europeans. We honor those who walked here before us. We honor the path they have shown us in caring for this place for generations to come. We strive for justice and fair relations with their descendants. And now we're going to light the chalice. Do I have a volunteer? Harrison. Now you know you have to flick that switch first and then shoot there. Does that make sense? First, 1, 2. Truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. All right, we're going to sing Welcome to the Circle. This is in the Open Your Heart songbook. It's on page 5. Oops, I'm sorry.
Might be on both pages.
Page.
Is it? No.
It's page 2. 2 and 3, I believe. All right, yeah, I'm sorry about that mistake. Here we go. All right, yep, sure enough, page 2 and 3. Stand as you are, willing and able.
How far have you come? Do you need some company, a candle and a song? Are you feeling weary, Do you have a bitterness you don't know how to share? Do you feel too angry to breathe or laugh or pray? Well, there's no one in this circle who has never felt this way. No one in this circle who has never felt this way. So welcome to this circle, whatever brought you here. The valleys and the mountain tops, the muddy and the clear. And know your work is worthy, and know your heart is true, and know that all you give away will come circling back to you. You got to know that all you give away will come circling back to you.
All right, now we have joys and concerns, and there will be a time to share private joys and concerns after the streaming has concluded. So here we go.
I have a joy. This is my weekend after weekend of grandparents visiting, but I have my dad visiting from North Carolina, and Deirdre, who's been a part of our lives for many years, but just a couple weeks ago they actually got married. So, so that is a joy, and they are out here visiting. We had a lovely day yesterday. We went up to see Elliot compete in the divisional track meet. He came in third in the mile race, which was very exciting. And then we had a beautiful hike at Holland Lake, and it was supposed to be cloudy and dreary, and the sun came out, and it was just magical. So lovely having them here.
Thank you.
Well, I have a joy being this year that I'm focused on gardening more than ever, having doubled the size of my garden. Waking up to the rain this morning felt like a big blessing, despite the usual grumbling about no sun. But rain, oh, gift from heaven.
Linda.
Good morning, and I have a joy too. For those that don't know me, I'm Linda Saul, and was a long part of this fellowship for many years, and spent 2 years up in Whitefish with my partner Chris Holdhusen, and part of the Glacier UU Fellowship there. And on Friday, we pulled the U-Haul into my old house and are living among a lot of boxes, so we're back here for a while. So it's joyful to be back.
Let's see. Oh, my goodness. Katie.
I had my hand up first, Judy. But I know what she's going to say, so I won't say too much. Are you going to tell her? Well, Judy and I haven't been here for a couple weeks. We went to New Mexico, and we were part of a birding workshop at Ghost Ranch with a really awesome birding teacher, Raymond Van Buskirk. And we were just in the most gorgeous landscape, seeing so many wonderful birds. and have gotten pretty inspired, so much so that yesterday we walked out at the Helena Holding Reservoir and identified 32 species.
And I really wasn't going to say that, although I am thankful for it. What I was going to say when we were singing Welcome to the Circle this morning is just my gratitude for the songwriters that have given us such beautiful songs to sing. And Betsy has been touring on her home turf this weekend, Boston and related areas, and I just am so thankful. Betsy's one of my favorite all-time songwriters, and I'm glad that everybody loves her music so much here too. So thank you, Earth, for giving us Betsy Rose and other songwriters.
Cass.
Part 2. So, we were a little disorganized about covering coffee because we have come so much to rely on Pat Sandin this year to provide our hospitality on Sunday mornings. And she had a successful shoulder replacement surgery this week. So she told me she didn't think she could come this morning. And so that was just kind of dangling. And as you may have noticed, I put a call in the announcements that we didn't have anybody to do hospitality this morning. Well, who should contact me yesterday but Linda Saul? The fabulous return of Linda Saul. So she and Chris have provided coffee this morning. So hallelujah.
We need to go make, because it was busy, so we're going to run out and go.
All right.
Yes, Nikki.
I have a concern about Taylor Swift's boyfriend's teammate and his very cringy commencement speech, and that he's getting so much maybe support. But I did want to say that all week long, what rang in my ears as every time I cringed at the story was Cass last week saying how lucky she was that she was a lesbian and had never listened to men define women's journeys. And really, it rang, I mean, it was so beautiful. I'm actually gonna look at the YouTube and really commit it to memory because it was such a beautiful statement at the time. I was right behind you and just loving it. So thank you, because it, you know, what we say to each other in here, it resonates in our lives outside of this sanctuary. So I'm concerned about that and also grateful.
Thank you, Nikki. Any others? Oh, yeah.
I'm Diane, and Terry and I belong to the UU Fellowship in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I would like to mention Bruce Behrens today. There was a memorial for him on Thursday. So his son is a member here, and I can't remember if his son's name is Pete, Alex, or Nate. Pete. Okay, good. So they're in St. Paul, and I'm here, and I'm a close friend of Bruce's wife. We just live blocks from each other, and I just wanted to mention Bruce's name.
Thank you. Diane, yes, I'll try and remember that. Yes.
I just wanted to say I'm excited to see Diane. She's back.
All right. Without further ado, we will continue with the offering. All right, so what we do with this is we sing Thank You for Loving Hands. It's on page 25 of the Open Your Heart songbook. But Cheryl always plays a lovely little short piece before that. And by the way, if you're a guest here, your presence is your gift to us, and so you don't need to worry about an offering. All right. I did not get to get volunteers. Charlotte, would you like to? Ann Harrison? Here we go. Thank you for your loving hands, your loving heart, your loving ways. Thank you for the gifts you bring into the world each day. And if you ever doubt yourself, remember us who love you well. We know the gifts you bring into the world each day. So thank you for your loving hands, your loving heart, your loving ways. Thank you for the gifts you bring into the world
I got it here.
each day.
Thanks. Okay, thank you, Judy and Cheryl. Now please turn to page 459 in your Singing the Living Tradition, and let's read this together. This is the mission of our faith, to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. That's a song for Judy, the whole world in my hands, right? And now it's time for a story for all ages, and Karen is going to read this great book from 1971.
So I welcome children to come up to the front if you want. You're going to look at the wall up there. And I'm also going to use a book. By the way, this book, written when it was, I had to change the language a little bit. So, this is Only One Ant by Lenore Klein. And the pictures are by Charles Robinson. If you saw an ant, a small ant, only one ant out of all the hundreds and thousands and millions of ants in the world, If you saw an ant fall from a clover with its feet in the air and its back on the ground, and it couldn't turn over, and it pushed and wriggled and kicked and wiggled, and it couldn't turn around, would you turn that ant over? Or would you keep on reading? I'd turn that ant over, and I'd give that ant a piece of sugar. If you gave that ant a piece of sugar, lots and lots of ants would come to eat that sugar. And ants tickle, and I don't think I'd turn that ant over. I'm ticklish, especially on my elbows, but I'd turn that ant over anyway. I'd turn that ant over, but then I'd go on reading. I'm reading a good book. But suppose it were a spider instead of an ant. If it were a spider, I'd close my eyes and turn it over quickly. Ugh, maybe I would turn it over with a stick. I would ask my brother to turn it over for me. He likes spiders. Spiders are great. I would turn that spider over and put it back on its web and then go on reading. If you saw a mouse, only one mouse out of hundreds and thousands and millions of mice. If you saw this mouse take a walk from its house to look at the world, and suddenly a hawk in the sky with a sharp hawk's eye saw the mouse too and started to drop without a stop, down, down, down to the ground, would you cry, "Watch out, mouse"? Or would you keep on picking berries? I would cry, "Watch out, mouse, watch out for the hawk." So would I. But I would still keep on picking berries, especially if they were blueberries. I would cry, "Watch out, mouse," but I would watch out too. Hawks are big. I would chase that hawk. Hawks don't frighten me. There's a little mouse down the bottom saying, "Bravo." If you were just walking by the pond one day, not fishing, and you saw a fish, a shiny sunfish, and only one sunfish out of hundreds and thousands and millions of sunfish, if you saw that sunfish flip, flap, flopping on the sand where a wave had left him on the beach out of reach of the warm, wet water, would you put that sunfish back in the pond?
I would.
Or would you just keep on walking? I'd put that sunfish back in the pond, but some other day I might go fishing, and suppose I caught that same sunfish. It's different when you're fishing. If I caught that same sunfish, I sure wouldn't eat him for supper that night. What about the worm? I just wouldn't go fishing. That's what I wouldn't do. I'd buy my fish in a fresh fish store. If in your yard, just before lunch, you saw a blue jay, only one beaky, shrieky blue jay, and out of hundreds and thousands and millions of beaky, shrieky blue jays, if you saw that blue jay sitting there with a droopy wing and it didn't sing and it didn't shriek and it couldn't move, would you take it to someone who could fix that wing, or would you go outside and eat your lunch, the hot dog and the piccalilli? I would take it to Mr. Abernathy. He fixed the wing of a robin last year. Maybe my friend Alice would take it to Mr. Abernathy for me. She loves birds. Could I give that blue jay some hot dog and a pickle lily? I would eat my hot dog and pickle lily first. I'd get hungry, and then I would fix that wing myself. I'm good at fixing wings. How about this kitten? We need to back up a page, hon. It's number 21. Okay. How about this kitten? If you found this kitten all droopy and draggly and weak in the knees and maybe with fleas, just one kitten out of hundreds and thousands and millions of kittens. If along the way you found this kitten and nobody wanted him, would you give him some milk and a soft, warm bed? Or would you say to that kitten, someone will come along soon and take you in? All right, page 23. I would give that kitten some milk and a soft, warm bed and maybe some catnip. I wouldn't. My father doesn't like cats. Neither does my dog. Cats make my mother sneeze. But maybe I could hide that kitten in my room and no one would know. I would give that kitten some whipped cream and my own pillow to sleep on, no matter what anybody in my house said. Now we're on page 25. What about this child? If you saw a child all by themselves, only one child out of hundreds and thousands and millions of children in the world, if you saw a child standing alone and watching the game and you didn't know a thing about them, not even their name, would you ask them to play? Or would you keep playing ball with just Tom and Jean and Harry and Al? I'd ask them to play, and I might even lend them my catcher's mitt. Suppose they can't catch. Tom and Jean and Harry and Al can't catch either. I'd just tell Tom and Jean and Harry and Al they'd have to play ball with them, and that's all. I'm captain. And now page 29. And just suppose you, just one of you, out of hundreds and thousands and millions of other children, suppose one day you couldn't find your way back home through this busy town and the sun went down and, oh, you were thirsty and hungry too. Would you ask someone to help you? Or would you just do nothing? I would ask someone to help me like a policeman or the ice cream man. I would sit down and wait till my mother came. Could I take a taxi? I would shout so loud that everybody in the whole town would come running to help me. That's what we would do. What about you? That's the end of the story. Thank you all for coming.
Hello, I'm Valerie Hellermann, and I've been a member of this wonderful UU community for a number of years right now. Today, I don't know, I was all over the place with this, but I have to call out my friend Cass, who's been involved in these deep conversations with me. As a spiritual community, I know we have all engaged in the pondering of our existence. What does it mean to be a human being? What is the purpose of this existence and our unique experiences within this existence? What does it mean to exist? I love having these discussions with friends. We take it out of the box of the unsolvable and put it back after thoughtful, painful, and joyful discourse. We explore this in hopes for a greater understanding of ourselves as human beings and our role in the larger tapestry of humanity. There are so many dimensions of existence to ponder: biological, spiritual, social. Like biology and the schools of biology offer insight into the origin and development of the human species. And then there's the tangible physical experience, the physical existence. We humans, we have a body, we are born, we live, we die. And I wonder, how does that even make sense? We experience beauty and joy, but it's transient. Why are there so many tragedies in our existence? Loss, harm. Why are these experiences such a part of our existence? And then growing old and dying, except for the wisdom of age. What's the point of that? Our legacies live on for so short a time. Most of the memories of us are obsolete within a generation or two, unless we become famously noteworthy in history. Spiritually, well, there are many notions of transcendence, of rising above being human. So there's another hierarchy here. Different religions have different concepts, but when exploring these, I get no definitive answers, just conjecture. Okay, enlightenment? Well, then what? Heaven or hell? Where is this if not here on earth? 10,000 virgins? Not what I'm looking for. Inshallah, God willing, and God or higher power, something we created to be the keeper of the mystery, and to have faith in our humanity, even if we don't really know why we exist in the first place. And by the way, biology has us evolving from the apes. And where did they come from? Who is the first ape, and where did ape number 2 come from? My husband's theory is we evolved from an alien species and are a failed experiment. There are so many variations of the human species, of human beings, differences physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And yet, we are all born, we all die, we are sharing this particular planet, and we are all here together in these particular times. We are all on this collective human journey, and yet each journey is unique and important, and there is great disparity in the human journey. I struggle to find meaning in a world that often feels devoid of inherent purpose. Where are we going, and how, and why? But I believe we beings exist in this together. I don't really know if our individual and communal purposes mesh, but I do believe that all of us 8 billion humans and all other forms, animate and inanimate, that exist on this planet at this very time, we are interconnected. And so, I believe my interconnected relationship as a human being holds responsibility to humanity, to the planet, to the creatures of earth, big and small. We human beings inhabiting this planet do not have a collective, or seemingly do not have a collective moral ethical path. Some feel no pain at the disparity of human conditions or of the exploitation of our planet. How is that okay? Survival for some takes all of their existence. For others, it's about luxury. And for most of us, we coast in between. Does that make sense? We float ideas of karma, of sinners or do-gooders, but it just doesn't seem to really make sense, as terrible things happen individually and in mass to good people, and some not so good people exist in great privilege. And again, what's the point of it? I have witnessed unbearable cruelty and inhumane conditions. I have witnessed heartwarming acts of compassion. I have witnessed the earth as beautifully breathtaking, and I have witnessed Earth's devastation, a careless, toxic disregard for her. From a spiritual perspective, many religions that humans created to grasp at the meaning of existence have moral codes and ask for actions. The Christian Bible asks for active concern for the welfare of others. Love thy neighbor, have compassion and mercy. Islam, the Quran, invokes a sense of shared humanity, aid those in distress, treat all with fairness and benevolence. Buddhism, all actions with wisdom and compassion, treat everyone as you would treat yourself and get off the cushion. The UU has its wonderful principles that are our moral codes. And that reverence calls us humans to act. How do we human beings act? Compassion is at the heart of social justice humanitarian work. And with compassion are the acts of kindness that punctuate our day-to-day human interactions. A smile to a stranger, a helping hand extended to a person in need, a word of encouragement, offering a skill that you have to help someone else. Having this shared sense of responsibilities, these gestures and actions affirm our common humanity, our cluster of humans. As you know, I work in the humanitarian sector doing medical work. These actions I just spoke of are the most profound and meaningful in that work. It is the human to human being connection, and I love this. But this work really challenges my understanding or lack of understanding of human existence. Here, the disparity and the suffering is in your face, and it's heartbreaking, and nothing or nobody answers why. I do know compassion at the heart of social justice to our fellow humans, our animals, our planets, our world. We feel the desperation of the planet, and we just can't stand it. We are privileged, often exist untouched by global turmoil, and here in our beautiful Montana, as yet not greatly impacted by climate change, we are privileged. And why are we when others are not? And yet others exist in opulent golden bubbles. In my privileged existence, yesterday, I read the news on war, politics, and flood, turned off my computer, went outside to my lovely cushioned wicker chair under my veranda with my latte with almond milk and watched the birds, and wondered how all this exists for me when others are experiencing great danger, hunger, pain, or despair. Clearly, we exist here and now in these difficult times. One can barely watch the news. There is serious global turmoil and a feeling of domestic chaos. Terrifying and imminent climate changes, vicious wars with threats of nuclear arms, famines, all threaten our human existence, which we don't even know what it is. So even if we don't really know what our human existence is about, we cherish it. And so we are really called upon to act. And I know some of us cannot function with this grief and the compounding of complex issues that threaten us. But again, we are the privileged, and the privileged can turn it off. But can we? As human beings, even if we fail to have a real understanding of our existence or of our purpose, and even though we get really disturbed by things, we can agree there is an inherent moral code within the vast majority of us and a moral obligation binding us together as human beings, and that we as humans prefer equanimity to chaos. And it is up to us to act in ways, big and small, that we can create a profound impact on individual lives, community, global existence, and our very own existence. Well, here we are, we human beings inhabiting this planet with 8 billion other humans at the same time, the same planet, and then these same precarious times, and all of us searching for meaning. What I've come to really know is that we can be there for some of the people. We cannot be there for 8 billion people, but we can help the person in front of us, human to human, heart to heart. And I know that human kindness is a profound expression of humanity. And though I continue exploring the meaning of our existence, I do believe as human beings, even if we cannot define our existence, we have the ability to create a dignified, safe, wondrous, beautiful, peaceful, and wise existence. And maybe wisdom and compassion can open a door to some insight into why we exist in the first place. And now these ponderings go back in the box of things that will never have answers. But we humans, we are humanity. And so now we'll take a minute of meditation. We have some time. Okay. So now we have some time for some reflections.
Okay. Linda.
Thank you, Valerie. A lot to think about. But one line that really struck me was, we the privileged have the ability to turn it off. And I think that really is a good description of what privilege is. I mean, we hear about white privilege or male privilege or whatever group, but the ability to close our eyes and our mind or even our hearts. And I don't want to be privileged. I want to be vulnerable. And that's a really challenging place to be a human that way.
I wanted to just share my sister. Hi, Linda. I haven't seen Linda for a billion years or so. She's like, approximately. My sister got me the UU magazine, and I saw that the UU General Assembly this year will be completely online. So I tuned in one year to some of the talks, and they were very inspirational. So I just encourage you, I think it's in June or July maybe, but to just go online and look for that if you're in need of inspiration. There's a lot of amazing information there.
Any other reflections on the sermon? Cass.
Valerie, I want to thank you for sharing your misery, your joy, your profound insight. And like our ongoing conversations of all these many years, once again, you spur thought in me that I don't know where it leads, but it's certainly an interesting journey. And that, yes, here we are living in a beautiful place with great privilege. And one of the things I admire about you particularly is your willingness to go to the hardest places and your willingness to extend your love to people that don't get much of it in their lives. And so having you talk about that experience in such a provocative way, really, it helps me feel alive, and I thank you for that.
Nikki. Yes, we have time.
Thank you, Valerie. A couple things popped in my head during what you were talking about. And one of them was the movie Poor Things. I think it came out last year, and I think it got some awards. But it was a story of like a Frankenstein girl, basically, and how childlike she was, and the story of her becoming human. And part of it was in her grand privilege on this cruise, you know, with tons of money. She goes off the boat in port. She's not supposed to, and she sees all the starving children and the starving people and like violence, and she just, like, that is the moment that she became human. And she goes back and she's just bawling. I mean, just, she's broken open, crying and wailing, and she takes all the money from the drunk whoever boyfriend and goes down and says, I have to give all this, I have to give them money. She's just compelled, right? And just as Cass said, I'm always in awe of how you're compelled and how you go. When I was a kid, I used to make fun of my grandmother because she would cry at like Kleenex commercials. She would cry at the Olympics. She would cry at the inauguration. She would cry at everything. And I would say, are you crying? And she would say, it's very touching. And I do the same thing now. When I was a child, I wasn't awake to the vulnerability. And when you see beautiful things, you're not awake until you know the opposite of that. And so Charlotte does this, you know, are you crying again, mother? It's very touching. Part of becoming a mother closed me off to, you know, like I won't go to the protests anymore. I won't go to the parades. I used to be the one like up there, and we'd put Charlotte on somebody's shoulders, and she wore a little kitty cat hat, and you know, for the nasty women's, march. And then something clicked in me, so protective of her. I'm so afraid of what could happen, right? Because of the evils in the world. And so it was like a different kind of awakening. And in motherhood, I guess it like changed me into this other being, right? And it's so interesting to contemplate. And again, I am also in awe and feel that when I feel like she's in her adulthood, I'll be able to go back to my compelled way of like doing something. Anyway, so those are some reflections. Thank you so much, Valerie.
Okay, oh, one more.
Well, when I was beating back the chaos of my office yesterday, I came across something that is from you, Valerie. Your story of Ama Ade.
Yeah.
And I think, well, isn't that wonderful to get that message just in the middle of chaos. Mm-hmm. And Ama Ade is the woman who was imprisoned after witnessing horrific things happening to her young 4-year-old, I think, and having her child ripped from her breast. She was imprisoned in Tibet, and rather than sink into despair and hatred, her story is that she looked into the eyes of those who were torturing her and torturing others, and she prayed for them because she realized they were the ones who were suffering the most, and they needed her. And Valerie, I just want to thank you because your stories come at crazy times when I'm trying to create files out of piles. So thank you.
All right. Now we're going to sing One of Us Can Make a Difference. Out of Your Heart song. I hope it's the right page number, but I don't know.
I think it's page 38. Yes.
You know, the crazy thing is how much we think we need words and pages. I've spent most of my adult life as a singer and leader of singing. And one of the tragedies I feel of our literate culture is that we don't look at each other, we don't carry the words with us, we don't carry the songs with us in the way that we could. So believe me, this is one easy song. You don't need your books. You can even dance. One of us can make a difference. Two of us form a committee. Three of us start a movement, and the world is bound to change. 1, 2, 3. Loving thoughts and positive actions. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the world is bound to change. 1, 2, 3. Loving positive actions. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the world is bound to change, change, change. One of us can make a difference. Two of us form a committee. Three of us start a movement, and the world is bound to change. 1, 2, 3. Loving thoughts and positive actions. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the world is bound to change. 1, 2, 3. Loving and positive actions. 1, 2, 3. Oh, the world is bound to change, change, change.
All right, we extinguish this. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Okay, now we have a time for announcements, and we'll need these are on the recording, because those out there need to know what the announcements are. After that, we will cease the recording and we can do private joys and concerns. So, announcements. Somehow it says on there that we have a potluck after today's service. That's not true.
Hi, I'm Carrie Fairbrother, and I work a great deal in skin cancer prevention, and this is with the National Council on Skin Cancer Prevention and local area health departments. And this Friday will be the Friday before Memorial Day, as most of you know. And that Friday we use as Don't Fry, F-R-Y Day, to remind everybody to protect their skin. And unbeknownst to most of us, Montana has a higher than average amount of melanoma. And actually in young women, melanoma is the first or second most likely cancer that they'll have. So it really helps us, as most of us in this room have already done the damage we think to our skin, to keep protecting our skin, because we do heal some, but also to make the difference in our communities by reminding folks that they can protect their skin. And this is one cancer that you can prevent. 97% or more of skin cancers, and especially melanoma, are caused by ultraviolet radiation. You get more if you go in a tanning booth. But we live in a wonderful state where we like to be outside, which I really love, but we need to know that most of the time in May, the UV index is just as high or higher than it would be in August when you'd be concerned. So do it and tell everybody about Don't Friday. You can go online to Don't Friday and it gives you all sorts of good information. We are getting a proclamation from the mayor on Monday evening that says the city of Helena also agrees that we need to be more careful. I don't know if it does anything, but it's supposed to be a way of getting attention, so we use that.
Okay, other announcements, Cass.
So this is kind of a red letter week for us. We're not only having a board meeting on Wednesday night, but we're making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on Wednesday morning. So I'd like to say that because all the people who are watching on their home screens don't have a program in their hand to remind them. Sandwiches, 9:30 a.m. at the Plymouth Kitchen right downstairs. You too can be a part of making 75 to 100 sandwiches for people who don't have kitchens.
And need something to eat. Any other announcements? Okay. Private joys and